I want to demonstrate a really useful debugging feature in MATLAB. So I still have the bisect code written up that we wrote in the bisect video. And let me try running it. So I can run it again with x squared minus 2, trying to find a 0 of that that's between 0 and 2. So last time I named the function, but here let me just make the function handle directly. So my f is going to be this thing, this function handle for x squared minus 2. 0 is my x negative, 2 is my x positive, and let's just go to 0.01. Okay, we want to find a 0 of this function up to this possible error. So got something pretty good, 1.141, at least that much is correct. Square root of 2. So pretty close to within 3 decimal digits. And the debugging feature, how do we access it? We access it by going over here to the left-hand side of the function of the M file where I've written out the code. And on one of these horizontal lines that's drawn, I can click and this little red circle shows up. I think of it as a little stop sign. And what happens now is when I run the function, it's actually going to stop the evaluation of the code when it gets to this line. So let me try the bisect again. So what happened? It jumped here to line 6 and then it stopped. And I'm able to go forward by going up here to continue or here to step. And it's the step that we're mostly going to be using. And to make it a little easier to see, I'm going to do what's called docking this. So I go up here, and then I say dock bisect.m. Okay, so command window is still here, it's just in a different tab. Okay, so now these two are in the same place. And the nice thing is that I can see the code for bisect together with seeing the workspace. And this workspace, it's very special. This workspace, it's about the variables that have been defined inside this function. So right now we're here. We can tell where we are by this green arrow. And I'm going to step forward. So it's about to ask, is x negative versus x positive? So by putting my mouse over it, I can even see what they are. This one's 0, this one's 2. And so is that distance between those, is it bigger than 0.01? Yes, it is, so it's going to go inside the while loop. Now it's about to make x bis for x bisect. Notice that that's not defined yet in this workspace for our function. Okay, now it is. It's halfway between 0 and 2. It's 1. Now it's going to ask if I plug in 1 to my function f. So if I plug in 1 to x squared minus 2, do I get something that's positive or negative? I get something negative. If I do 1 squared minus 2, I get a negative number. So now it's about to replace x negative, which is currently 0. It's about to replace that with x bisect. So let me step forward. Yep. Now x negative and x bisect are the same. And because this part of the if statement was evaluated, it just skips this else part. Now it's come to the end of the while loop. So it tested again, is x negative and x positive, are they within error of each other? No, they're not. They're 1 apart. So it goes inside again. So now x bisect is 1.5. And I can't do this one so easily in my head, but if I square 1.5, I get 2.25. 2.25 minus 2 is positive. So now this true-false statement inside of the if, it's going to be false. So we're going to jump down to the else. Okay, so this line 10 was skipped, and we're in the else. Now x positive, which is 2, it's about to get replaced by 1.5. Okay, it just happened. X positive is now the same as x bisect. And I'm going to go a little faster, but If you want, you can go through it more slowly. Now x bisect is 1.25, so it's actually gotten further away from the 0. It's gotten further away from 1.41. But that doesn't matter. The gap between x negative and x positive is shrinking, and that's what we really care about, that gap is going towards 0. Okay, so now it's 1.43. We're eventually hoping to get to 1.41 something. So eventually we got to x bisect equals 1.4141. And now at this point, x negative is 1.41 something, x positive is 1.42, then a smaller something, then after the x negative. So these are within 0.01 of each other. So the while loop stopped. x0, which is supposed to be our output, it got set to be x negative. Nothing special about x negative. I could have just as well chosen x positive, or maybe the most elegant thing would be to choose something halfway between x negative and x positive. Then I chose x negative just sort of randomly, and then that's the output. So I step forward. Now I'm done. It's changed to a downward pointing green arrow. And the bisect function is over, and now we're back in the command window workspace. So all those local variables that had been defined, we no longer have access to those. If I go to the command window and I type in x_bis, it'll just say it doesn't know what it is because that was defined inside of the function, but it's not defined back in the command window. So in general, this debugging feature we just looked at, where I put in this little red circle by clicking over here and then running the function, that's a very good way to trace through what's happening in the function. So if you're getting an error message that you don't understand, or the output isn't what you're expecting, then try going through it step by step like this. And being able to go through a function step by step in your head, that's also a really important skill, both for when you're writing your own functions and on the quizzes and exams when I ask you to analyze functions that I've written.